Anthologies used to be a major way that people would get their reading, especially in genre fiction like sci-fi. Um, Short fiction is the lifeblood of many writers' careers, especially early on when publishing was much more lucrative and um, back in the 1900s, way back in the 1900s when people read a lot more. Um, and I've been taking a look at. I have quite a few anthologies that I've built up, kind of a collection of, and I was just taking a look at them, and I think about them often because they're filled with um, sometimes just a couple pages of a story by a an all time author, and other times there's a story that's 30 pages long by somebody you've never heard of, and there's such an interesting um, kaleidoscope of, especially in this genre of science fiction and fantasy that most of us are a part of, such an interesting view of um, different writers and their takes on things. And I have a stack sitting here, just a select few that I wanted to just kind of talk about, show you and talk about, and just discuss that I'd like for you to help me pick a collection, an anthology to read through, because I think they all seem like they have so much to say, and some of the concepts and some of the lineups are just fantastic and awesome that I want to pick one. I want to focus on it. I've been kind of reading through Dangerous Visions, which you can maybe see behind me right over here. Um, but I think I'm going to leave that for kind of a separate project. I've been slowly picking out up every once in a while, reading a story or two. But here, I have probably a dozen that I'll just talk about real quick, and I'll just show you some cool ones that I picked out. But like I said, I think the variety and the importance to the craft of writing that anthologies play is very underrated in modern writing. Um, when I was in college and I studied creative writing, um, many of the creative writing assignments that we would do for some of our classes dealt around short fiction because, you know, we couldn't write long novels in the span of a semester. So we would write a short story, we'd come to class and discuss it. And while that's not really the work I do as a writer now, um, and it's something that I've not really done a ton of in the last several years since I graduated college. It's one of my most fond memories of learning more about writing um, and appreciating reading and discussing different ideas and literature. And I just think it's why I always kind of come back to short fiction as this like really fun way of exploring a topic, and ultimately sometimes finding a lot of authors found a novel in a short story that was eventually expanded. So let's start off with looking at this one. This is, I mean, part of the reason why I picked this one up is the cover, but this is The Magic of Atlantis, edited by Lin Carter. Um, we have some pretty special names in this one, including Robert E. Howard, Henry Kuttner, um, Clark Ashton Smith is in this one, um, and someone named Nixon Dialis. I'm sure I butchered that. I really probably shouldn't have pronounced their name, but there's some cool stories in here. This looks to be probably some stories that relate to Atlantis, I would think. But sometimes the concepts that these anthologies have are loose, very loose concepts, and the writers just kind of roll with it. But this one, I mean, I've read a little bit of, I've read one Henry Kuttner short story. I've read a great uh, collection of shorts by Clark Ashton Smith. So this one I'd be really interested in. Never read any Robert E. Howard, but I know Conan and those books are very sought after. This is a cool one I picked up that I just have not really seen much of, but this is a tribute to Andre Norton. It's called Moonsinger's Friends. Found this randomly at a thrift store one day. It's got Anne McCaffrey, C.J. Cherry, Tanith Lee, Olander, Jane Yolen, Nancy Springer. Some good names. Yeah. For anybody else in here that I see. This one, I just thought Joan D. Vinci's in here. I just thought it was really neat and wanted to show you it because you don't usually see collections dedicated to a certain author. So I don't know if these are stories. It says best-selling writers and their most popular characters gathered together in a special all-original collection. So yeah, should be all original short stories, edited by Susan Shwartz. That's a cool one. A lot of these I tried to pick out some unique ones because there's a ton of anthologies, as you probably know, in this corner of vintage science fiction and fantasy, where it's just a giant lineup of names and it's just best of. I didn't want to purely just do that, but there's a couple of like Terry Carr's best, like this one, that just had a stacked lineup and some great stories that I recognize. So there's a few of those in here. Here we have the best science fiction of the year. I'm sorry, number 5, edited by Terry Carr, and you can see a bunch of the names on the front. But you got great names: Corwin Smith, Gene Wolfe, John Varley, Ursula Le Guin, Harlan Ellison. So George R. R. Martin's in here. Trying to just really quick glance at the table of contents to see if I recognize any of the stories. I do not recognize any of the names of the stories, but I've always had my eye on this one. Terry Carr put together a couple of really special lineups, including this one. This is Best Science Fiction of the Year number 3. This is a Ballantine. That one was a Del Rey, but as you can see, another great stacked list of writers here. We have Bester, Lafferty, Silverberg, Vance, Ellison, Wolfe, Le Guin, Tiptree, most of which I've read their short fiction. Let's see if I can recognize any. Oh, The Deathbird by Ellison's in here. Death of Dr. Island by Gene Wolfe is in here. I've heard of The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelis by Le Guin. So that's a cool one. A lot of these ones that are best ofs, they're not the prettiest covers, but maybe that's a good thing that I mixed them up a little bit. It's because you got some cool covers in here. This is a Belmont called The Metal Smile, edited by Damon Knight. This, I think, is kind of conceptual in the sense that it's, a little bit of that AI kind of thinking machine, and I think that that's very timely. And it also has good names. You got Asimov, Philip K. Dick, Anderson, Walter Miller Jr., Sheckley, Kuttner, C.L. Moore. Idris Seabright, I want to say, is a pen name. I just heard it the other day from somebody. Margaret St. Clair, maybe? Yes. I'm 90% sure. So yeah, that one has a pen name. That's kind of cool. Just realized that. So yeah, this one I think is also pretty dang short. It's 150 pages. So yeah, there's some cool ones in here. Imposter by Philip K. Dick. There's a joint story by Kuttner and Moore, husband and wife duo, I think. Yeah. Keep going here. And McCaffrey put together this one that I'm sure you've probably seen. It has a great cover. Alchemy and Academe. And this seems to be more, fantasy, sorcery kind of stuff. Enchanting tales of sorceries and their apprentices. Sorcerers? Yeah, sorcerers. Silverberg, Delaney, Keith Laumer, Spinrad, Lafferty, James Blish, Joanna Russ. Man, this one is stacked. And I've had the itch for fantasy lately. A lot of really great names in this one. Yeah, that would be cool. So, like I said, if you're still with me at the beginning of the video, like I said, help me pick one. Put it in the comments if you have a favorite, if you have one that you think I should try. I really, really want to dig into one of these and just make it my habit of, while I'm reading through other novels, to just pick up and read a short story or two a day. It helps break it up a little bit. You get to try different authors you may never tried. You might find something we might find something special, is what I'm trying to say. Here's the, I believe, first Nebula award stories with a just banger cover art and some great names in this one as well. I mean, most of these have great names. That's kind of why I picked them. But you got The Doors of His Face, The Lamps of His Mouth by Zelazny. He's been talked about on the channel a decent amount lately. That's a short story I've really wanted to try. Ellison, J.G. Ballard, Larry Niven, Brian Aldiss. I mean, can't go wrong with this one. For the one that kicked off the Nebula Award short stories. It's cool. There's a couple in here that are conceptual. This one is a Fawcett Crest. It's called The City 2000 AD, Urban Life Through Science Fiction. Edited by Ralph Clem, Martin Harry Greenberg, and Joseph Olander. It is not one that I've seen very often. I've seen it one or two other times on this corner of BookTube, and I think it's really interesting. It's broken up into a couple sections of, like, part one is Of Dreams and Nightmares, Visions of the City. Part two is Yesterday's Dreams, Today's Problems, Tomorrow's Nightmares. And then The City 2000 AD, Take Your Pick. So it seems like, yeah, that one's, so there's some, I think a lot of it is based around kind of the urbanization and future issues that urbanization poses potentially. The competition for space, tons of science fiction back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s was around overpopulation and the fear of we only have so much space. And then we have, like, pollution, we have concrete, the removal of natural, the removal of nature and things like that, conservation. So this one, I mean, has a lot of really unique, I think, angles. I don't know if the writing would be any good in this one, but there's some good, really great names. So it's a really neat one. This isn't so much as of an anthology. It is technically, I believe, but I just think the cover art is really, really cool and has 4 great names, 3 of which I've read. And these are more, I think these are novellas. But it's The Shores Beneath, and we have Zelazny, we have Sladek, we have Delaney, and we have Dish. This one's always just spoken to me. The red text block, the pretty great lineup. James Salis is the editor. These stories look to be probably about 50 to 75 pages long. Yep. So Delaney's is Time Considered as a Helix of Semi-Precious Stones. I've seen that one in a few anthologies. That one seems to be making the rounds. The Graveyard Heart by Zelazny, Masterson and Clerks by John T. Sladek, and The Asian Shore by Dish. That one is neat. This is Beyond Control, edited by Silverberg, with the really tight binding and green text block from Dell. Really like this physical book. We have William Tenn, Philip K. Dick with Autofac. That one I've seen before. Adam and No Eve by Alfred Bester. Terry Carr, Silverberg, The Box by James Blish, and an Asimov to finish it off. That one I've always had my eye on. A few more. This one I think is just a cool concept. It's got just a fun concept. Like I said, it's the ABC of science fiction, an ABC of science fiction, edited by Tom Boardman Jr. It takes the 26 letters of the alphabet and picks an author of each. It's the first letter of their last name and goes through all of the alphabet. Aldous, Frederick Brown, Arthur C. Clarke, and so on. But we have some great names in here. I mean, we have Kurt Vonnegut, John Wyndham, Zelazny, Damon Knight, Lieber, There's some great names in here, so that one's pretty cool. Two more. This one I think is one of the most unique anthologies that I own. This is a Penguin science fiction called the Ultimate Threshold. This is Soviet science fiction. Collection of the finest in Soviet science fiction, edited and translated by Mirra Ginsburg. I'm almost positive I will not recognize a single name in here. No shot I'm going to try to pronounce any of these names. So if you pick this one, just know that I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I have no context for this other than that it is Soviet science fiction from 60s, 70s. Yep, 70s. I mean, I'm sure if I kind of learned more of my history, I'm not super well versed on Soviet history, but I think that has a lot of historical importance, especially for Soviet writers nowadays, modern Soviet writers. So I think that one would at some point I really do want to try that one and see what there is in there. This one, last one, it's another one of the Terry Carrs. He really put together some great lineups. This is the best science fiction of the year 12. And I can't. I mean, this one just has so many good ones. Souls by Joanna Russ has a Le Guin, Robert Silverberg, Connie Willis, William Burning Chrome's in here by William Gibson, Thomas Dish, Bruce Sterling has a story in here. Nancy Kress. There's some. Yeah, this one would be awesome. So there's a couple of novellas and then a lot of short stories. That's all of the. That's all the ones I picked out for you. So I won't jabber too much, but this was intended to be just a video just to kind of discuss the fact that I think anthologies are important. Jake from Pulp Mortem sent me an announcement video the other day about they're doing he's gathering submissions for Weird Frequencies 2, an anthology that he's putting together. He and some other booktubers put together Weird Frequencies 1, and it just kind of sparked that in me to just think about how important that short fiction is and how accessible it can be. And so I guess part of this video, like I said, was just to discuss it, but also to urge you to engage with short science fiction, short fantasy, short anything, because I think one of my best friends, Luke and I were talking to him about like what to read, and he wasn't really sure where to start because there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of books out there, millions of books, and so where do I'm sure you have some. Even if you're not a reader, you have some favorite things you've read in the past or have been read to. And so where do you start? And I think I gave him a William Gibson collection. I think I gave him Burning Chrome. And I just said, try these out. If you like the first story, keep going. If you don't, you only sunk 20 pages in, you sunk 45 minutes into reading, and it was good for you. You tried out a story, you tried a new author, you engaged with their work, with their creativity, and I just think that is extremely important. And as somebody who's always had the desire to write a novel, or hopefully multiple novels someday, it's a way that I kickstart my own writing. If I can force myself to sit down in front of the computer and try to write a short story, it gets those juices flowing. It's a real great way to break out of writer's block. So if you have any thoughts of just trying out any of this stuff, like I just engage with short fiction at a minimal level. It's a perfect way to kind of enter the genre, find authors that you want to read. So I'll stop blabbering, but anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. I don't know what's next on the channel. I'm slowly working through Lonesome Dove still, so videos on the channel might take a bit, but I just appreciate you guys tuning in the other night to me joining Ebes and me and Sam have a video coming out here next week on as a Lasny novel we both read, so that'll be fun. So there's some cool stuff on the horizon, but I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it was helpful to you. And like I said, down in the comments, help me pick. I want to hear what your thoughts are. Which anthology would you read? With that, I'll talk to you in the next video. Thanks, guys.